Hello everybody, welcome back to Links with Friends. Today is July 29th and we're doing government and security stories to start your week. Yay! It's still 100 degrees outside.
And it's going to be worse this week. If the forecasters are correct.
The cooling systems are definitely starting to struggle.
PJM's back in max output.
Yay!
It's like
That's our power area grid.
Is it 1,000 or 10,000 kilowatts away from rolling blackouts?
That's not good. I was going to turn on a lot more AI systems soon.
Well, it's not going to get any better.
That's okay. Everyone else is going to, too.
Yes. And we are going to turn on a lot more data centers because we are officially going to let the AI companies do whatever they want.
White House unveils sweeping plan to win global AI race through deregulation.
I think all the AI generals were telling them, hey, yeah, you should totally do this.
So this is, if we don't, China will, made into government policy. So they're saying basically we're not really going to put any brakes on it because we know that if we don't, somebody else will, which is probably true.
Yeah.
But
did you, this article didn't cover it, but the sweeping aspect of this is way, way, way more sweeping than one might expect. You know, the gas can thing, like Americans have a gas can regulation where like the inner coating has to be something. So if you put water in a gas can now, it's really bad because the chemical coating or whatever. This also rolls back that kind of stuff. So you can probably get a properly made gas can again because the gas cans from the 1970s are way better than modern ones.
Yeah, that means they've also probably rolled back a ton of other EPA protections. So don't expect to have clean water anytime soon.
And they've apparently rolled back the 10th Amendment because they've decided that if a state doesn't want to go along with this, well, they're free to do that. And it actually does enshrine that. But in the modern world, it's not just what you're allowed to do, it's how much money you get, which will be nothing.
Trump is bringing back the AI law moratorium. We're going to take away your federal dollars if you regulate AI as a state. Forget states' rights.
I mean, states should operate without federal money, but then if everybody else is getting federal money and you're not, that's not quite fair. The wording here is a little bit open, which is something governments love to do. So depending on how it's interpreted, maybe it's not so bad. However, if we look at the historical precedent...
We're literally redefining what words mean. It's like, you know, as a citizen, you look at it, it's like, yeah, rule of law, we'll get out the corruption. And it's just like, no.
And we all know that Donald Trump is not super aware of what's going on around him until he can meet it or touch it or like, you know, he wants to do everything in person.
He's like a child. He has no object permanence. Like, you do peekaboo and there's nothing there.
We learned that Jensen from Nvidia actually went to the White House and immediately got everything that he wanted. He seemed to make a big impression, but hilariously, that was the first impression.
President Trump threatened to break up Nvidia. Didn't even know what it was. What the hell's Nvidia? I've never even heard of that before. And so like, there's a little bit of a jumbled, out of order transcript here, where it's just a jumbled mess. There's no other way to describe it other than a jumbled mess.
Now, that is a quote from his speech. This is not secondhand knowledge. He admitted, I didn't know who this guy was. I didn't know what Nvidia was. I found out it was the world's richest company. I thought about breaking it up. Then I met him, and now I'm completely convinced that he's right about everything. So this was a big part of this AI legislation, apparently.
Much to the rest of the industry's disappointment, Trump said that he asked how much of the market does Nvidia control, and everybody said 100%. And it's like, I mean, it's a lot, but.
And as with everything else right now, it's so partisan, and there are so many diametrically opposed layers of appellate court. Everything must be decided by the Supreme Court, which is where we're going with this.
Trump's firing of Democratic FTC commissioner was unlawful, the judge rules. You may be, those of you in the audience that are astute may remember it was like, wait a minute, wasn't it two of them? Only one of them had gone through the court system. And, you know, here we are 7 months later, and it's made its way through the court. And the result was it needs to go to the Supreme Court. So it's going to be in a court a bunch longer. As a footnote in this article, they have a quote from the other Democratic FTC commissioner that was let go. And they said, yeah, I needed a job. I needed income. I couldn't wait this long. So I went to work for private industry.
The industry that they were just regulating, revolving door. Yeah. That's always how it works. And the other big thing that we learned last week, the new sweeping law and budget, is that Border Patrol gets to, I guess, take the place of what the NSA has been doing. Everybody knows that the NSA was spying too much. We're on to them. So now we'll move it to a new agency.
The Intercept says Border Patrol wants advanced AI to spy on American citizens.
What border is any city in Kentucky near?
We are in the area, though.
I know.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense.
Because it's 100 miles from any border plus some extra carve-outs. And we are, in fact, part of the border surveillance. Oh, it's like a little tiny piece in the middle, I think, that isn't. It's probably just forest.
The Daniel Boone National Forest. We got to surveil this harder.
So they want drone with AI recognition. They want like pole-mounted stuff. They want the ability to do judicial warrant style stuff. And they have the massive budget now, and they're like, hey, here's all the crazy stuff that we're going to roll out now that we got this massive budget.
That doesn't sound like the pinnacle of freedom. And also, it's really weird because we've got this massive technological apparatus that we're building, and it doesn't seem to have any kind of like logging or accountability facilities. That's so weird.
And it also, this is very permanent stuff, right? Like this is infrastructure that's not going to go away. Presumably these guys will eventually succeed in removing all the illegal aliens, right? And then defending the border. So then what are we going to do with all this stuff?
Well, then we have to redefine who the illegals are, and that's going to start being American citizens.
Just the pores.
Actually, it already is American citizens, let's be real.
And when you ask these systems that have been logging this stuff for the better part of 5-10 years, like, who was responsible for these atrocities? And it's like, I don't know. That's so weird.
And the FCC might be getting a replacement if that lady gets to come back. But in the meantime, they are working hard to undo everything that was done before.
The FCC is going to eliminate gigabit speed goal and scrap analysis of broadband prices. What this article fails to do is look at what other countries have done. Like, for example, China, where 96% of people that have access to broadband have access to broadband that is 100 megabit or faster. 96%.
You would think that the AI bros would want that to happen, right? Because it gets their product to more people. I don't understand why there's a blind spot for them.
I like to think that we're also especially bitter because of our experiences, in rural America, because the level of corruption is breathtaking and transparent.
Here's why they don't care is because people in rural areas are poor and they're not going to pay for your crazy high AI subscription. So they don't even count.
We could literally do a better job with a mule and the guy that only has like 6 teeth that is just a lovable sweetheart.
AutoZone Gary, he'll get it done.
They really will. It's amazing.
And in the AI section on Friday, we'll talk about more doomsday scenario predictions coming from people like Sam Altman and the Anthropic CEO. They're not really hiding it anymore. And one of the things they warn about is something that is very easily illustrated here.
Senator Michael Lee falls for fake letter that appears to be generated by AI. It was a letter that the Fed chair, Powell, had resigned, and so he immediately retweeted that. I was like, yeah, he resigned. Woo, he's out. No, it was just AI-generated nonsense.
They might be thinking, well, somebody went to the trouble to mail that to a senator. I can see why he'd be fooled. No, it was on Twitter. He saw it on Twitter. He immediately reacted to it.
And the letter was full of like typos and obvious terribleness.
It's very poorly done.
Just, I mean...
A quick, just let me double check this before I send it.
He could have run it through AI.
Yeah, you could have Googled it. Could have looked it up on any social media site.
Hey, look at this letter. Search the web. See if you can. No, he just immediately reacted to it. But they pointed out, maybe it was one of the comments in the article, because of the way that social media works, that was probably just as effective for him as if it were true. Because the people that saw that are never going to see the retraction.
Yeah. Maybe it'll have an inoculation effect. Maybe in the collapse, people will be introspective and say, "Oh, I should look more into this."
No, I think
you have to question everything.
They'll just keep blaming who they're told to blame for it.
Fomenting discontentment and unrest and blaming it. We're never going to have a functional society if there's that level of contention.
If you think about it, it's eternal optimism because we constantly believe that there's a hopeful new group that's going to save us all.
Remember when candidate Obama said he was going to do with NSA style surveillance, and now we're handing it out to every penny anti-law enforcement agency?
And then MAGA, and then anti-MAGA, and now we're back. Yeah, we just keep buying into the fact, and it's, well, how many times do you have to get kicked in the face? It's like the Charlie Brown thing, right?
How do we use technology to enforce accountability and an object permanence memory, to use Krista's words? Here's my technological record of this. We've been down this path before.
Well, the UK wanted to use technology, probably not for that reason, probably just to control people, but they wanted to do something drastic. But they're finding out that their government is in fact not quite as powerful as one of the world's biggest companies.
The Ars Technica headline says the UK is backing down on Apple encryption backdoor after pressure from the United States. You should read this article and absorb everything that it says, but then you should be slightly worried that the reason they're backing down is not for privacy protection or any kind of yay, citizens. It is because of the business aspects of this. They just don't want to do it.
There's a great quote. They were interviewing another politician who was somehow close to this, whatever body made this decision. And they're like, well, what are you going to do? And he's like, I didn't make that decision. That's their mess. So he's like, I do not want to go up against Apple and Donald Trump right now. That is not what I want. Talk to them about it. And it is time. It has happened. The UK has instituted the Digital Markets Act. That's the one that did this. Oh, no, the Online Safety Act. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Online Safety Act, which means that if you have over, is it 1 million or 700,000 users, you have to confirm identity. And that is having a lot of fallout.
Wikipedia threatens to limit UK access to the website. Basically, you can't access Wikipedia until you prove your age, because technically they have that many unique users.
I've seen this happening on Discord. UK users complaining I had to upload a picture for Discord to be able to access servers.
I think you can access it. You can't have an account because they have to keep the number of accounts below that threshold. So editing. So the UK will lose all but a certain number of editors, and then there will have to be a weird vetting process to decide who gets to be an editor, which will give them a lot of power.
Oh no, unforeseen consequences of terrible regulation. See also gas can thing.
This is not the dream of the internet.
And you will not be allowed to lose at the security game, or at least if you do lose, you just have to lose permanently. You can't take the L.
UK to ban public sector orgs from paying ransomware gangs.
Non-public sector, you still have to tell them about it. And before you pay, you have to go through a consultation with them to make sure that your payment might not be going to a known terrorist organization. Then you still might be prevented from doing so.
Yeah, if you have a company that pays a terrorist organization linked to, say, Iran, the State Department notices and they give you a call. Ask me how I know. It's not fun.
And not just the UK, but the EU has also decided to give up.
Apple set to stave off daily fines, EU to accept App Store changes, sources say. But you dig into this and you see that Apple is still going to charge a 5 to 15% commission. So they're still trying to insert themselves into business transactions that happen off-platform.
If you recall, when they told them they had to do this, and they're like, okay, we'll do it. And then they did the 5 to 15 anyway. They were like, yeah, this is not allowed. You can't do this. We will crush you. Well, they got the same phone call that the UK did. They're not allowed to crush Apple. And I got to think this might be in the same vein.
No plans to get big tech to pay digital law compliance costs, the EU tech chief says. At least for now.
So obviously somebody get paid for all this online verification and all that stuff. And they were talking about maybe taxing the big tech companies who are going to be the overwhelming. Because, it only affects the certain companies, right? But no, that's not what they're going to do. At least according to this lady. And this is one of the darkest stories we've ever done. And it really is life imitating art, I suppose, in the worst possible way.
The BBC headline was, Kill Russian Soldiers Win Points is Ukraine's new drone scheme gamifying war. And you read the BBC write-up.
Points, yeah.
Yeah, and the answer is literally yes, but also, my goodness.
So it's exactly what you think it is. It's Call of Duty. However, you personally don't get paid. It's more, actually, I guess it's more like Counter-Strike, right? because the more drone kills you get, you can go into a special point shop and you can buy
Weapon skins.
yeah, not skins, no, actual weapons and other things for your unit. So they don't have enough to give you the items that you need. You have to go out there and earn them by killing with drones. Little Dark Krista feelings right there.
Yeah.
And it's hilarious because this is a moving economy too. They determined that in the old days, when it first got started, one Russian soldier, only 1 point. But like a supply truck or a tank, you might get 6. But they've been having a lot of problems with single or small unit incursions and guerrilla style tactics. So now they've upped it. I think it's 4 points per human life that you
And
take.
how much does a weapon skin cost?
They didn't go into that specifically, but I got the impression that you'd have to rack up quite the kill streak to get something good.
If you want to maximize the efficacy of a very limited supply of stuff, then it seems like the people that are more skilled operators will get access to more supplies, which is a very still dark thing.
And what are we gaining from any of this? What is humanity gaining from any of this? And Gardaí, which is Irish, I had to look that up. That is their police. They're getting a power that certainly wouldn't be allowed if they were still in the EU.
Gardaí to gain power to intercept live encrypted chats. They want WhatsApp. They want to be able to just go in there and spy on things. But this is amazing because remember Salt Typhoon? It's like lawful wiretap access. That's what this is supposed to be for these apps. So it's like, oh, we need to build Salt Typhoon style backdoors in things. And it's like, did you not just... You literally can't build backdoors in these that... It is math. It's like, I would like cosine to behave like tangent. And it's like, well, that's not the same math.
The expert, I want you to draw 7 red lines, but I want 2 of them to be in blue ink. And it's like, that's not...
And this new legislation that Trump has put out, it really is enshrined. If we don't, China will. And it seems like China already has, because we're bringing the new generals, the CTO generals and the tech bros just go to the White House whenever they want and they get whatever they want. And it turns out that China has already spearheaded this.
China's cyber sector amplifies Beijing's hacking of U.S. targets. This article is really, really interesting, and this was carried in a bunch of other places with different headlines. But the lead that they buried here is that you can now get a license from the Chinese government for doing these kinds of operations. So you can go to the Chinese government and say, hey, I'm registering my corporation as an intelligence operation, counterintelligence operation thing. And so like is it the Saudi Arabian company that does the spyware? And then the Israeli company that does the spyware? Like those companies are known globally for doing that. And so this seems to be China's answer to that is like, oh, here's a Chinese company that does that. But we're registering. We're not trying to be clandestine like, the Israeli or the Saudi Arabian company. Like, here we are. And it's like, on the one hand, it's strange and weird. But on the other hand, it's like, oh, they're displaying their intention to come after American and other targets like the Israeli and Saudi Arabian companies.
It's a letter of marque.
Yeah.
For hacking.
Just, huh.
But
I guess everybody knows Lockheed and Boeing and stuff do that. I mean, does Boeing do that? I don't know if Boeing does that. Lockheed does that, don't they? Like, there's some other companies that do that. But does Accenture? I don't know.
You can hack for profit in China legally now, but there's one thing that you cannot do.
China shuts down OnlyFans, calls it a threat to national morals and social order. Was this, did you guys see the story about it was a follow-up to the banana eating streaming. Remember that?
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
Apparently that was going on OnlyFans. Like, not worth stuff. Literally just like
Eating a banana.
Here's my I'm streaming eating breakfast every morning, and it's like, no, that's not what happened.
Tough time for the Chinese girls with no skills. And this, there were like a million stories about this. I just threw this, we got a couple here, but this was an ongoing saga that spawned lots and lots and lots of headlines. We'll give you a quick roundup.
The Reuters headline is Microsoft says some SharePoint server hackers are now using ransomware. This is, again, Reuters really messed up the headline here. The headline should have been, Microsoft says all on-premise SharePoint servers have got deep problems you really need to patch immediately. Because ransomware.
But they didn't tell you that until it was already too late, because the patch didn't actually work, the first one. They have since created another one, which maybe seems to work, but the damage seems to be done. I think I have the next story. Yeah. The biggest, so with lots and lots of businesses, but also some bigger targets.
U.S. Nuclear Weapons Agency among 400 organizations breached by Chinese hackers.
Yay! Yippee!
This is the same thing that played out with Exchange. Microsoft stopped supporting Exchange properly because they want you to use Office 365. They stopped supporting SharePoint on-premise properly because they want you to use Office 365, as evidenced by another Reuters headline.
I think March is when this was first discovered. So during that time, what did they do? The answer, nothing.
Microsoft knew of SharePoint security flaw, but failed to effectively patch it, timeline shows.
To be fair, that is the month of St. Patrick's Day, so they were probably busy.
What about April?
They were also busy.
Now,
Easter.
Remind me what else was going on in spring in Microsoft. Was it just round after round of layoffs?
Think some of those people might have been working on this?
We don't need this department.
Why didn't they just vibe code this patch?
Oh, yeah, obviously. That
So
should have
easy.
happened.
And Clorox, which makes a lot more than just Clorox, they're a giant multinational at this point. They were outsourcing. Of course they were. Okta, it was their, they handled their IT and stuff like that. And for a long time, and maybe they got a little complacent.
The Ars Technica headline is, after $380 million hack, Clorox sues its service desk vendor for simply giving out passwords. And there's a transcript in here of one of the calls. And so the hackers just called and said, hey, I'm this person. Can I have a password? And the help desk was like, sure, here you go.
No verification needed. Yeah, sounds good.
The help desk is so like saccharine, sweet, and helpful here. It reminds me of AI.
The help desk company that this was outsourced to also commented at the bottom, which is great, which they said, we tried to get Clorox to, let us do the cybersecurity stuff, but they wanted to handle their own cybersecurity stuff internally. So we were following their protocol for this. Like, they wanted this.
I hope they have documentation of that.
A company of that size, you can't use that excuse.
Yeah.
You would have to have your own policies. And you couldn't do business, no matter how big. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's going to be a fun lawsuit.
We are going to have so many stories from this. It's going to be great. It's going to be amazing. Because here's two things are going to happen. One, it's going to go to court, and then we're going to have lots of really hilarious stuff where it's like, okay, obviously the help desk company should have known better. Or the lawsuit's going to go away almost immediately, which is going to mean that the help desk company had the receipts for the idiotic things the executives asked for in an effort to save money, and they're going to be so embarrassed by that, they're just going to drop the suit.
Well, they were logging all the calls. That's a start. Now, interestingly, they didn't just get in once. They got in with one login that was, somewhat restricted. They used that to identify another account and then called right back to the same help desk and got into the other account. So it wasn't, I don't know if it was the same person, but it had the same exact failure happen twice in a row in the same exact way.
I've definitely triaged events and helped, looked at events where the multi-factor thing that they had in the article played out exactly that way. It's like somebody got a new phone 6 months ago, and it's like, one, what have you been doing on the clock for the last 6 months? But two, why are you just now contacting us because you changed your phone? And then it's like, oh, now we have to do like a manual verification, and I got to call the thing, and just like, what is going on? So like, I get it, but also like, it's not great.
And VMware, once again in the news, VMware, if you don't know, requires a subscription, but not really. In fact, they said, well, if you don't get a subscription, we will give you critical security updates, because it would probably be illegal for us not to do that. But there's a big catch.
How kind.
VMware prevents some perpetual license holders from downloading patches. And it's not just some, it's a lot. And they're up in arms. They're forming their own like trade guild at this point to go against Broadcom.
My liege.
Yeah, because it's just so insane. Broadcom really wants a lot of money here. And so people that have bought the perpetual VMware license are not enjoying the perpetuity of that license, let's just say.
Now, you can log in. Your account does work. But when you go and you want to download this thing, what they say is, well, we can't just let anybody download this. we have to verify that your account is actually valid to download this because you don't have a subscription, so we can't immediately do that. And they say, well, okay, can you verify me? And the response is, I could take 6 months.
Because you don't have a subscription.
Do you want one?
Upgrade now.
We're holding your security ransom, and it's like, all right, you know what? You should take 10% of whatever the money it is you ultimately have to give VMware, Broadcom, and put it toward an open source replacement. There's actually, like, this is a thing that's happening behind closed doors. It's actually kind of exciting. A lot of these companies that were spending $1 to $10 million a year on VMware are getting together and actually deciding, like, where to put the money in terms of developing open source solutions to replace VMware, which is, it's kind of exciting that there's that level of organization from this hate and angst.
Your body language got very like animated there. Like I could tell you were like trembling with barely contained excitement.
It is exciting because like the VMware customers don't deserve this level of suffering, especially like the small medium businesses. It's just like, this is unnecessary crappiness.
And how dense are you? No, I'm not talking about your stupidity. I'm talking about your actual body. How dense is your guts and, you know,
Your
everything
innards.
about you? And that's important because now it's going to be a unique value and it's going to follow you around.
Humans can be tracked with a unique fingerprint based on how their bodies block Wi-Fi signals.
Are you telling me I've been sandwalking around for no reason?
Was this Spectrum? Spectrum just rolled this out, I think.
Well, their thing is different. They're only detecting movement. This seeks to tie you to a unique identifier. They're going to quantify this so that you could actually be followed from like business to business. Sort of like a Facebook pixel for the entire world.
So imagine like the worst camera surveillance you can think of with a global database. Because think about the Wi-Fi that exists. It's like, oh, this is your Spectrum neighborhood Wi-Fi. It's like, oh, the Spectrum neighborhood Wi-Fi is now a giant surveillance apparatus.
So what we need to do is we need to start a service where we give you a series of vests with different tiny lead plates in them. And at the end of the week, you return your vests and you get new vests.
And you also sandwalk everywhere
Well, you
in the
got to do
vest.
that. Yeah, obviously.
So the cameras don't follow you either.
And malware is everywhere. One of the things that gets it detected is command and control. Once it's in there, usually you just have a tiny, tiny, tiny little thing to get in. And then it downloads more stuff as it needs it. But then if you're watching your network, you can see where it's going. But not with this.
Hackers exploit a blind spot by hiding malware inside DNS records, because what crazy person logs all DNS requests? That's just insane chatter that is not anything real. Except now it's filled with malware.
So this is one domain with a ton of subdomains. Each subdomain has a text record that's a little chunk of the actual payload. And over time, it just hits those DNS records. It doesn't even have to go to the web page, and it can slowly build the malware as it does that.
Or use that for control, or whatever. And the text records are so small that individually they're not malicious on their own. You don't even know what it is.
And no one's scanning it anyway. I mean, they might now, but even if they did, they got to look at one thing at a time. Terrifying. And this is also terrifying because I'm positive we predicted this. There was a time when cops could go and get anything they wanted from any Ring camera, and they got a lot of pushback from that. Good job. Keep pushing. But now, that guy that made that decision, he's gone. He's been replaced with this guy.
The Business Insider headline is completely wrong to the point that it's offensive. The headline is, Amazon's Ring goes back to full founder mode, taking the company back to its crime-fighting roots.
This is paid advertising, isn't it?
Yeah, the headline should have been, Amazon's Ring is no longer under your control. They're forwarding your video to law enforcement once again.
To Axon, who will be taking over all of that. That's the same body cam / taser company who is using AI to transcribe the police body cams. And as we discussed last week, has no oversight on how they use it. So you can imagine probably going to be about the same thing here.
Don't buy an Amazon Ring.
If you've crossed the threshold for ripping your Ring doorbell out and would like to join us in the Level 1 forums, there's lots of Ring alternatives that you can hook up to Home Assistant and Discord. There's an active community there waiting for your loving embrace.
But what you can't do is stop your neighbor from running a Ring camera.
Yeah.
Which, unfortunately, that's the one that points at your house. And another week, another giant healthcare breach.
European healthcare giant AMEOS, is that how? I don't know if that.
Yeah.
That's
AMEOS reveals data breach. Millions of users warned to be on their guard, and here's what we know: they lost everything.
I don't know if we know what they lost so far. They're going to get in touch with you later on to let you know, but they have for sure been accessed by somebody.
You know, I remember before Dell acquired Cerner actually had a mode where they could store the patient identifying information apart from the medical records. I mean, it's not trivial. It's pretty trivial to work backwards from somebody's medical records to their ID, but it's like, this is great. And then once Dell bought Cerner, it was like that was not a thing anymore.
And power. Oh boy, is power going to be something that we're all concerned about. And there's going to be, probably we're going to enter into a world where if you use a little too much personally, you're going to be taxed heavily because the AI companies need it, right? And the way they're going to do that is with these smart meters, which everybody has now.
The Ars Technica headline is: a power utility is reporting suspected pot growers to cops, and the Electronic Frontier Foundation says that's illegal. It's weird how there's all this stuff going on that you would think would be protected under the law, and it just doesn't seem to matter anymore.
So how do
You're
they
going to
know?
get reported for this.
Yeah.
Just because of all your hardware.
Now, it used
Literally,
to
that's
be,
happened before.
Yeah.
it used to be hilariously, they would actually fly spy flights.
Yeah.
And look at roofs, because the roofs where there was no snow, there was probably a grow operation in the attic.
They never told me, but they did get a copy of my power records. But I think it started as this house never has any snow.
And so what's going on here, though, they are looking for the cycle, the on-off cycle. So one guy had from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m., which is off-peak hours, by the way. Well, I don't think 7 p.m. is, but, it's better than running it through the workday. They're like, hey, your power spikes during this time. We know that you're growing weed. In fact, he was mining cryptocurrency.
I was doing it before it was cool. I mean, not the cryptocurrency part, just the compute part.
So, yeah, watch out for that. Maybe much like sandwalking, you have to spend power to disguise what you're
actually doing.
And we've talked about these companies who will sell this data to the government, right? The government doesn't have to spy. Everybody else is doing it for you. But now they farmed it out at even another level, because now they're not even doing the spying. They're just going and getting it for free like everybody else from the dark web.
Startup takes personal data stolen by malware and sells it on to other companies. Yes, this is... And you may think this is happening at a small scale. No, this happens at a really large scale. There have been at least some intrusions where the malware steals data, and they don't even bother with the ransomware side. They just sell the data.
Farnsworth Intelligence is the name of this company. And yeah, they just go to the dark web and they pull stuff off, and then when somebody wants a data set, they're like, oh, we got this. You want to buy it?
We found it on the internet.
We
Good
cleaned
luck.
it up. Made it nice, made it searchable.
Okay.
And I'm worried about this one because I'm a big indie gamer, and a lot of these have play tests that you can get into before they actually launch the game. Steam clearly doesn't care as much about the security when there's no product there yet.
Hacker sneaks infostealer malware into early access Steam games.
You play a lot of early access indie
Kimia.
gems.
Kimia was infected with 2 different kinds of malware. They added another one after this one was successful. It's not clear if the developers had any idea about this. Maybe their account was compromised. But whatever Steam is using to scan these didn't catch it.
Worrying.
Yeah.
And this would steal everything on your PC. It would go into your browsers and pull all of your credentials and stuff. Be really nasty if you got it.
Well, that's the future. Actually, it's not the future. It's the present.
It's the past, actually, because by the time they see
it, yeah.
It's well into the past.
Just stay anointed. Be afraid of everything.
I am.
Great. Continue that paranoia into the next episode. We'll see you guys in like a day.
What do we got coming up for the next episode?
Same thing we always do, Pinky.
No, I mean like...
business and probably social. Yeah.
It is kind of... We do have... Like, usually it's kind of quiet for business in summers because, people are checked out. But we actually do have a lot.
Well, this was not a huge week.
All the sections this week were almost perfectly spaced. We had like 29 stories in each.
Tube-shaped.
Yeah.
Neat.
We'll see you in the next one. Bye!